Sometimes Claire and I just like to listen to the Trudgery with the lights out.
You ever do something you can't explain? Like your hands were moving, your voice was talking, but you swear it wasn't you? That's what happened the night the thing downstairs called my name. My name's Patrick. I'm from Brooklyn, Bay Ridge born, Gravesend raised. Used to be a bartender before I started drinking more than I poured. Now I hustle odd jobs, construction. Some nights I drive Lyft if I can keep my hands from shaking. I'm not proud of who I am, but at least I'm honest. I've got a temper, always had. Got kicked out of the swing club scene last year after a fight with some guy who mouthed off about my ex. It's funny, I thought being that guy with the extra big reputation would make me feel powerful. It didn't. It just made me feel empty. That emptiness got worse after I moved into this basement apartment off Avenue P. It was cheap. Too cheap. And the landlord didn't ask questions. You could smell mildew in the hall, hear the rats scratching in the walls. But it was quiet, and I thought quiet was what I needed. It wasn't. The first weird thing was the sound. Every night around 3 a.m., I'd hear someone moving around below me. Thing is, I was the basement. There was nothing below except old foundation and dirt. I thought maybe it was pipes or the building settling. Then one night, I heard a knock. 3 slow knocks from under the floorboards. I laughed it off, probably a raccoon or something. But then it said my name, whispered, drawn out. I froze. My bottle of Jack Daniels was halfway to my lips. I remember thinking, maybe I'm just hearing things. Maybe I'm drunk. But the whisper came again, softer now, like it was pressing its mouth against the boards. Patrick, come down. There was no down, but I got on my knees anyway, pressing my ear to the floor. That's when I heard it breathing. The next morning, I tried to tell myself it was a dream. But when I looked at the floor, there were dark stains between the planks. Mud, maybe blood, maybe something else. I told my landlord. He laughed and said, "That's old building stuff. Don't worry about it." That night, it knocked again. This time I knocked back. I don't know why I did that. Maybe because I was drunk. Maybe because I was lonely. The answer came back. 3 knocks, same rhythm. Then silence. That silence crawled into my head. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Started pacing, smoking too much, doing a little something just to keep the nightmares away. I'd see shapes in the corners, dark outlines, like water stains that moved. And every night, the whisper, always my name. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I ripped up a section of the floor with a crowbar. The smell that came out was like death soaked in ammonia. I gagged, turned on my phone light, and saw stairs. Not wooden ones, concrete. Going down. That's impossible, I thought. I was in the lowest unit. But there they were, wet and gray, vanishing into pitch black. I told myself I was just gonna look, just a peek. I went down 3 steps. My light barely touched the bottom. It was like the darkness was swallowing it. Then I heard the whisper again, only now it was right next to me. "Patrick, you were supposed to stay with her." I froze. I hadn't told anyone about my ex, about how she OD'd after we fought, about how I told her I didn't care if she died. I ran back up those stairs, slammed the boards back down, nailed them shut. I didn't sleep for 3 days. The next week, I found a news clipping in my mailbox. It was from the Brooklyn Eagle, 1987. Crushed. A couple found deleted in the basement of that same building. Woman's throat, man's head. The perpetrator was never found. Underneath, in pen, someone had written, You live above them now. I called the cops. They came, looked around, said there was nothing in the system about a basement staircase. One of them said I should lay off the powder. I laughed in his face. That night, I woke up to the smell of cigarettes, the same menthols my ex used to smoke. A voice whispered right in my ear, "You brought me here." My lights flickered. The floor started to move. And through the cracks, I saw eyes. So many eyes. Hands pressed up through the boards, reaching, clutching. Cold fingers brushed my ankle. I ran out of there barefoot, left everything, wallet, phone, keys. That was 3 months ago. I sleep in my car now, near the piers. I tell myself it was the drugs, the stress, the withdrawal. But every time I close my eyes, I hear knocking. 3 slow knocks from underneath the asphalt. Sometimes, when I'm stopped at a red light, I catch my reflection in the rear view. And for a second, it's her face looking back at me. Then I hear it again, whispered, wet.
Patrick, come back down.
My name's Richie, and I've lived in the same second-floor apartment in Bensonhurst for almost 50 years. You could say I've got an unusual hobby. I collect toys, not just any toys, vintage ones. Hess trucks from the 80s, old Mets figurines, a few dolls from flea markets that look like they've seen things they shouldn't. I even found this new Frankenstein figure, a special edition that lights up when you press a button on his back. I guess most guys my age would have given this up by now. But for me, collecting was a way of holding on to something good. A piece of my childhood that never turned sour. At least, that's how it started. It began one night in late September. I couldn't sleep. Too much coffee, maybe. So I sat at my desk, cleaning the glass shelf that held my Hess trucks. The little green ones with the white trim. I loved the sound they made when I rolled them. That tiny click of the plastic wheels on wood. That's when I heard it. A soft clack from the shelf, like something had shifted. I looked over. One of the trucks, the 1993 model with the red striping, had turned slightly. Its cab was now facing toward me. I laughed out loud. "Yeah, sure," I muttered. "Real haunted truck. Maybe it wants a joyride." But then the headlights blinked. Twice. I stared at it, heart thumping in my chest. There weren't any batteries in that one. I'd taken them out years ago so they wouldn't corrode. I remember walking over, holding my breath, tapping the truck. Nothing. No lights. No sound. It sat there like a piece of dead plastic. That was the first time. Over the next few nights, little things kept happening. My Mets figurines, the little plastic players I kept lined up on my dresser, would change positions. The pitcher would be leaning toward the batter, glove outstretched. The catcher's mask would be turned sideways. I started taking pictures before bed to check in the morning. Every time, something would be different. And it wasn't just the baseball guys. The dolls, especially the older ones, started to freak me out. I had one, a porcelain girl in a blue dress that I bought at a thrift store in Sunset Park. One night, I woke up and saw her silhouette on the dresser, head tilted toward me. It looked like her lips had parted, like she was whispering something. I thought I was losing it. I mean, maybe I was. I tried to brush it off. It's just my imagination, I told myself. You've been watching too many late-night horror movies. But then came the night I brought home the Frankenstein. It was October. Perfect timing for something spooky. The box said it had motion-activated eyes, But when I tried it out, nothing worked. I put it on the nightstand beside my bed anyway. At around 3 a.m., I woke up to a faint hum, like an electrical buzz. The Frankenstein figure's eyes were glowing, bright green. It turned its head toward me. I jumped up, grabbed it, and yanked the battery pack out. But the light stayed on, and then I heard it. The faint sound of the Hess trucks rolling, not crashing or falling, rolling. I froze. Something was moving across the floor. When I turned on the light, everything stopped. The toys were just where I'd left them, but the floor. There were tiny wheel marks in the dust, leading from the shelf to my bed. That's when the dreams began. I'd wake up inside my room, only it looked different, darker, heavier, like the air had turned thick. The toys would be standing in strange arrangements around me. The Frankenstein would be at the foot of my bed, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. And behind him, there was a shape, a shadow figure. It didn't move like a person. It rippled, like smoke underwater. Sometimes I'd see the outline of hands reaching toward the toys, tugging invisible strings. And every time, the toys would twitch, tilt their heads, or step forward, all in perfect rhythm. It was like something behind the toys was using them. At first, I thought it was just my subconscious, some lucid dream brought on by stress or some bad takeout food. But then I started waking up with the toys in the exact positions I saw in my dreams. Once, I found a porcelain doll sitting on my chest, her cold hands resting on my throat. That's when I stopped sleeping in the bedroom. I moved everything to the living room couch. I boxed up the dolls, the trucks, the figures, even Frankenstein, and shoved them into the closet. I told myself if I couldn't see them, it would stop. But 2 nights later, I woke up to the sound of rattling. It was coming from the closet. I sat there, frozen, watching as the door slowly creaked open. One by one, the toys tumbled out, not falling, but stepping, like something unseen was pushing them forward. The Frankenstein figure stood up, his head cocked, his eyes dead green. And behind them, in the shadows of the closet, I saw that figure again. It was taller this time, nearly brushing the ceiling, its head tilting like it was studying me. Then, in a voice that wasn't sound but pressure, like something whispering inside my bones, it said, "We will always find you. We will always find you." I don't remember much after that. When I woke up, it was morning. The toys were all back on the shelves, perfectly arranged, but the Frankenstein was missing. I've checked everywhere, under the bed, behind the closet, even in the hallway. Gone. Sometimes, though, when I walk past a toy shop on 86th Street, I swear I see him in the window, eyes glowing faintly through the glass, watching. And when I go to bed at night, I keep hearing that faint click-click sound of little plastic wheels rolling toward me, like they're waiting for their collector to fall asleep again. I never believed in Brujas, at least not until that summer I went down to Mapsville, Virginia. I grew up in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. Noise, people, trains rattling under the avenue. Magic there was just luck. A good parking spot, a breeze through a heat wave. My abuela, however, used to say, "La magia sigue la sangre." Magic follows the blood. She'd been sick that year, talking nonsense, Mama said, so they sent me to stay a few weeks. Keep her company, make sure she ate. Mapsville was tiny, flat fields, 2 gas stations, and air so still it felt like a held breath. When I got off the bus, I could already smell the salt marshes, thick and metallic. Abuela's house sat in the edge of the woods, small and leaning, with dried bundles of herbs hanging on the porch. Inside, it smelled like cedar, candle wax, and the faint sharpness of vinegar. "Maria," she said when she saw me, her voice thin but sure. "You came before the dark moon." I laughed. "Abuela, I came because you keep forgetting your blood pressure pills." She only nodded, eyes far away. "Still, it's good you're here." The first few nights were quiet. I'd cook for her, read old magazines, listened to the cicadas scream outside. But the third night, I woke up to a scratching sound on the back door. Not an animal. Too steady. 3 slow drags. Pause. 3 more. Abuela was awake, standing in the hallway, holding a glass jar of salt. "Don't open it," she whispered. "She's outside." Who? The Bruja. I wanted to roll my eyes, but something in her tone stopped me. The scratching came again, closer now, like fingernails against wood. Abuela poured a thick line of salt across the threshold, her hands shaking, but precise. "She can't cross where the pure earth stands," she said. "Not unless invited." I stood there, listening. The scratching stopped. Silence. Then, faintly, a woman's voice from the other side of the door. "Senora Ruiz, you dropped something by the well." Abuela's face went pale. "That's not her voice," she whispered. "That's my mother's voice." I didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, everything looked normal. Birds sang, light through lace curtains, coffee on the stove. Abuela acted like nothing had happened, but I noticed new salt lines across the windowsills, the fireplace, even around her bed. "Abuela, what's going on?" I asked. She stirred her coffee slowly. "When I was a girl," she said, "a woman came to this town. Pretty, quiet. They said she could cure anything. Fevers, heartbreak, crops gone bad. People brought her gifts. One day a child got sick after she visited, then another. They called her Bruja and burned her shack. But some spirits don't burn, mija. They wait." "That's a story," I said. "Just superstition." She looked at me, eyes glassy with something old and sharp. "You think so? Then why did she whisper your name last night?" I laughed, nervous. "You must have dreamed it." But that night, I dreamed of her too. A woman standing by the marsh, hair dripping with mud, her face covered in ashes. She was humming a lullaby I hadn't heard since childhood, one Abuela used to sing. When I woke, the room smelled of sulfur and wet earth. There were muddy footprints on the floor, leading up to my bed and stopping right at the line of salt. The next morning, I found Abuela in the backyard, barefoot in the grass, staring at the well near the fence. The bucket was halfway up, swaying slightly. "Don't go near there," she said without turning around. "Why?" "She's underneath, waiting for the living to look down." The wind shifted, then carrying something sweet, almost like rot, and I heard it, faint whispering from inside the well. It wasn't words, exactly, more like breathing shaped into sound. Abuela turned to me suddenly. "She follows blood. She knows you." I packed my things, told her I'd come back when Mama could visit too. She didn't argue, just handed me a small cloth bag tied with red thread. "Salt," she said. "Keep it close. Don't let it spill." I took the bus north the next morning. The farther we got from Mapsville, the lighter the air felt. By the time we hit the highway, I almost laughed at myself for being scared. But when I reached into my purse for the salt bag, it was gone. Just an empty string and a faint dusting of white on the lining. That night, back in my apartment in Sunset Park, I unpacked. Everything was where it should be, except my shoes. The soles were caked with gray mud that smelled faintly of marsh water. I cleaned them, tried not to think about it. But as I wiped the floor, I noticed a fine, pale line across the doorway, like salt. I hadn't put it there, and when I turned off the lights, I heard it again. 3 slow drags, pause, 3 more from the other side of my door. I still keep a jar of salt on my windowsill now, not because I believe, I tell myself, just in case. Some nights, I wake up to humming, soft, old, and familiar. The smell of wet earth drifts in through the cracks, and every time, I wonder if I brought something back with me, or if something just followed the blood home. I'm not the kind of guy who believes in curses. I'm a construction worker. I believe in steel, concrete, measurements that hold. But that ring, that damn gold ring, made me start questioning things I used to laugh off. My name's Bryce, 32. From Park Slope, I build condos for rich people, eat dollar slices, and flirt too much for my own good. Most days, life's simple. Work, gym, shower beer, repeat. Until that night, I walked home from a job site in Red Hook and met the drunk on the curb. It was around midnight, rain slicking the asphalt, smell of wet dust and metal in the air. I just left a bar where a waitress named Tasha had slipped me her number, and I was feeling good. That loose, confident buzz. He was sitting on the curb outside a bodega. This skinny old guy in a soaked trench coat, bottle wrapped in a paper bag. His eyes caught me like headlights. "Hey, handsome," he slurred. "You want to buy something that'll make you lucky?" I laughed. "Man, I'm already lucky." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a gold ring, thick, heavy, with this strange engraving around the band. It looked old, expensive. "Got this from a job years ago," he said, "but it ain't mine to keep no more. You wear it, you get what you want. Women, money, safety, but it costs something every time I was drunk enough to play along. How much you want for it?" He grinned, showing 1 gold tooth. "Just a drink." I bought him one. He dropped the ring into my palm, warm, heavier than it looked, and muttered something under his breath that sounded like Latin. "Don't take it off," he said, "or she'll come for it herself." Then he winked. I wore it the next morning. I don't know why. Maybe because it felt good on my hand. Maybe because the story made me laugh. At the job site, the foreman, a guy who never notices anyone, told me, "You're looking sharp today, Bryce." Later, Tasha texted, "Thinking about you. You coming back tonight?" Even the city felt like it was moving around me. Green lights all the way down Flatbush. A stranger smiling. Just a second too long. It was like everything tilted in my favor. But that night, something else happened. I woke up around 3 a.m. The ring was hot, like it had been sitting in the sun. When I looked down, it seemed brighter, almost glowing faintly. Then I heard a woman's voice, low, like she was standing just behind my ear. "You look good in it." I jumped out of bed, heart hammering. No one there, just the ring, gleaming in the dark. The next day, I went to meet Tasha for dinner in Gowanus. She touched my hand across the table and said, "That ring's nice. Vintage." "Yeah," I said. "A gift from a stranger." She laughed. "Mysterious." I like that. When we left the restaurant, we passed a group of guys hanging near the corner. One of them catcalled her, loud enough for me to turn around. I was ready to ignore it until he reached out, like he was going to grab her wrist. I don't even remember swinging. Next thing I knew, he was on the ground, leaking from the mouth, and everyone was staring at me. My knuckles weren't even sore. The guy looked like he'd been hit by a car. Tasha was shaking. Bryce, what the hell? I didn't have an answer. That night, I tried to take the ring off. It wouldn't budge. It felt like my skin had grown around it. When I looked at it under the lamp, I noticed the engraving more clearly. Tiny figures, carved in a circle, a man and a woman, holding hands, surrounded by flames. I thought about the old drunk, the way his voice had cracked when he said, "Don't take it off." I didn't see him again after that. I checked that bodega corner every day, nothing. The clerk said no one like that had been there for weeks. Then, about a week later, I woke up to whispering. Soft, close. "You owe me." The room was freezing. My breath fogged in the air. When I looked in the mirror, the ring's reflection was different, darker, redder, like a dull crimson light. And behind my shoulder, for half a second I saw her. A woman, pale skin, wet hair, eyes like smoke, smiling. I spun around. Empty room. But I could still smell her. Sea salt and cheap perfume, like the night air outside the bar. I'd tried everything. Soap, pliers, even the acetone trick a buddy swore by. The ring stayed on. That same week, Tasha called. Her voice was trembling. "Bryce, something's been outside my apartment. I think it's you." "What?" "I've been home. I swear it's your shadow. Same build, same walk. But it doesn't move right. It just stands there." Then the line went dead. I ran to her building. She wasn't home, just her phone sitting on the steps. That's when I noticed the handprint on the glass door. Small, feminine, burned into it. I went to the police. They didn't believe me. Said maybe Tasha left town. Maybe she didn't want to be found. But I know what I saw that night. And when I got home, I swear I could feel her in the apartment. Not Tasha, but her. The woman from the mirror. She whispered again, closer this time. "You wear my promise." I caught my reflection in the window, and for one awful second, there were two hands on my shoulder, one mine, one pale and dripping. I tried again to rip the ring off, screaming, and finally it slid free, slicing my skin open as it fell. It hit the floor and rolled under the radiator. I didn't dare pick it up. That was 3 weeks ago. They found Tasha's body yesterday by the river in Red Hook. Her skin was burned around one wrist, like something hot had been gripping her. The cops said it was probably a piece of jewelry. I told them nothing. But last night, as I was falling asleep, I heard that same whisper from the dark corner of my room. "You can't give her gift away." When I woke up this morning, the ring was back on my finger, and it fits perfectly. I'm not the type to get scared easy. Brooklyn raised me tougher than that. My name's Janiyah. I live off Myrtle in Fort Greene, and I do PR for a small art nonprofit. Long hours, too many events, and not enough excitement. So when this guy Marcus I'd been messaging for a few weeks said, "You ever been to Baltimore?" "I could show you around the harbor." I said, "Why not?" He was cute, beard, glasses, that kind of quiet confidence. We'd met at a gallery opening in Dumbo, shared a few drinks, and he'd been hitting me up ever since. I wanted something spontaneous. A weekend out of the city sounded perfect. Besides, Baltimore had crab cakes. I'm weak for crab cakes. The plan was simple. Take the Amtrak down Friday, stay at a boutique hotel in Fells Point, meet Marcus for dinner at this waterfront spot he swore had the best crab cakes on the East Coast. The ride down was smooth. Gray skies, coffee, playlist on shuffle. When I got there, Marcus texted, "Change of plans. My cousin's got people over near Patterson Park. You cool with that? I was tired but didn't want to seem uptight. Sure, I texted back. Just don't stand me up for my crab cakes. He sent a winking emoji. The hotel was nice. Red brick, low light, kind of romantic. My room had this old charm, like restored 1800s furniture and a huge mirror across from the bed. It smelled faintly like lemon polish and something else I couldn't place. Maybe damp wood. I showered, did my hair, threw on jeans and a top that showed just enough shoulder. When I checked the mirror for a second, I thought I saw someone standing behind me, just a blur. I turned, and there was no one. Girl, relax, I told my reflection. It's just nerves. Marcus picked me up around 8. He was wearing this dark brown jacket that brought out his eyes. We hit a small tavern by the harbor, candlelight flickering off the tables. He ordered wine, I ordered a crab cake sandwich, and for a while it was just easy, flirty. He touched my hand once, casual but electric, and I thought, okay, this weekend might actually turn out nice. But then he started asking questions, weird ones. If something bad ever happened to you, he said, you think anyone would notice right away? I laughed it off. Wow, morbid much. He smiled, small, closed mouth, too long, just wondering. City like this, people disappear. I thought he was joking, but something in his tone made my stomach twist. After dinner, he offered to walk me back. The streets were quiet, fog rolling in from the water. We passed old row houses and alleys where the lamplight barely reached. Then he stopped. You hear that? It was faint, a scraping sound, metal on stone. Probably a trash can, I thought. Marcus looked around, suddenly tense. Let's keep moving, he said. We got back to the hotel, and he kissed me, soft at first, then hung there like he didn't want to let go. Text me when you're in your room, he said. I did. He didn't answer. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to a noise, a faint tapping, like nails against glass. The mirror across from my bed was fogged over, just in the center, like someone had breathed on it from the inside. I sat up slowly. The tapping stopped. I told myself it was pipes, or wind, or something normal. But when I looked again, there were faint words drawn in the fog. I couldn't read them, but it looked like, get out. I grabbed my phone. No new messages. I texted Marcus. You up? Nothing. Then from the hall, I heard footsteps. Slow, dragging. They stopped right outside my door. I waited, frozen, listening. The handle turned, just slightly, like someone was testing if it was locked. Then came a whisper through the crack. He shouldn't have brought you here. I didn't even breathe. The footsteps moved away. The next morning, I went to the front desk. The clerk, this older woman with gray curls, looked at me like she knew exactly what I was about to say. Room 312? She asked. Yeah. Her face fell. You shouldn't have been put in that one. We keep it closed off. Why? She hesitated. There was a girl a few years back, from New York, I think. She met someone online. They found her body in that room, right by the mirror. I felt my skin crawl. What happened to him? They never found him. I checked out within an hour. Marcus never answered my calls. His number stopped working by that evening. When I got back to Fort Greene, I unpacked and tried to convince myself it was all some mix-up. Bad vibes, creepy coincidence. But a week later, I ordered takeout, opened the bag, and froze. Tucked under the receipt was a small paper card from the Baltimore Tavern. Best crab cakes in the harbor. On the back, written in slanted handwriting, I didn't recognize, were 3 words. You got lucky. Now sometimes at night, When I'm walking home from the G train, I catch a glimpse in dark windows. Not my reflection, but something just behind me. A shape. And once, in the fogged mirror above my dresser, I swear I saw someone's hand, pressed from the inside.